So, a production company gets involved, and the BBC, in an unusual bit of efficiency, is quick to act. Can we talk about the process of the decisions made? And then, so the pilot was commissioned, and Lydia, I'm going to bring you in here. In terms of getting it from script to screen and the stylistic decisions, obviously to go from a one-woman show, in terms of telling the narrative, the decision to kind of address the camera as if it's the audience, what was the process of how you made those choices?
I suppose the one big thing that's changed from play to TV show is we didn't kill the guinea pig. We weren't allowed to kill the guinea pig. So in the play, Fleabag kills Hillary, but we weren't allowed to do that. BBC wouldn't let us do that. So that was the one big cut. Stylistically, so speaking to camera was absolutely necessary because of the monologue being spoken to the audience. So it was the mirror of that and how we recreate that in the relationship between narrator and audience, unreliable narrator and audience. And then I suppose there were beats that we knew that we wanted to hit. So obviously the ending and the reveal that Boo had been killed. And then I guess it was sort of working out where they might hit in the series, because there were discussions about maybe revealing that earlier. Do you remember we talked about maybe doing an episode 3, but then it felt like, actually, no, that needs to be at the end. So there was sort of kind of a skeleton that we put in place. And then just lining Phoebe's bedroom with loads of things that continued to make us laugh, all the jokes that were in the play. And then just kind of working out how to get from the big dramatic beats via all the jokes. I suppose that was the...
Was it a painful process? Did you go through a lot of drafts?
Yes,
what was
it was
that?
very painful.
It was really painful.
It was also because when the play felt so wrought, because by the end of writing that, you know, every single tiny nut had been tightened and every bit of fat had been stripped off it, so the story felt so streamlined, but it was essentially over 3 days of her life, and I was playing all the characters. So even though it felt really exciting, opening it up in this way and breaking the fourth wall felt like it lent itself really well to that, because you know, the relationship of her front that she has with the audience and slowly letting the mask slip and letting the audience see things she doesn't want them to see, that felt really, really exciting. But then having to kind of fluff out her life and make it from a 3-day spiral into something that happens over a series of weeks, that was really hard, because I sort of felt like I'd got all the best material in it. And I put all the best jokes in the pilot as well from when we first did
loads of boring discussions about the cafe, wasn't there?
Yes, and whether or not I should keep the cafe and all that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, putting all your best jokes first as well leaves you, I mean, it's a great idea at the time, and then you're like, fuck. Episode 2. And so I think it was just generating more material and letting go of the play. And then really choosing the moments that you try and break the audience heart rather than making them laugh. And we kept saying, first and foremost, it's a comedy, and that's what will make people open their hearts to this show, is that you'll make them laugh and will disarm them that way, and that's her way of existing, is she's constantly looking you in the eye and saying something outrageous or saying something so truthful or whatever, and so to disarm the audience as much as you can. And then it was finding the right moments to throw the dart in. And that was really the sort of trickiest thing. But I mean,
and what did you learn from pilot to series? Because you did a couple of tweaks post-pilot, and you changed director, but that was just an availability thing, I think it was. What was the learning curve? What did you, why did you refilm some stuff?
Cast changes because of availability as well.
A bit of improvising.
There was a bit of
improvising in the pilot that we reshot.
What was that?
Do you remember the scene in the cafe with Boo and Fleabag and Boo, and then we reshot it because there was, I think, in the original pilot, the scene where Fleabag and Boo are sort of shutting up the shop in the cafe was a lot of improvising, which was a decision sort of made on the day in a bit of a rush, and it didn't work at all. So we reshot it for the pilot, for the series, and it was much more structured, that we got back to that idea of cutting all the fat away from this and not making something fluffy and making something that felt like this has got a point and we just need to make it in the funniest and sort of most direct way possible.
I think the difference with between the theatre and the pilot that I saw was that we really knew theatre, and so things like Phoebe knew she wanted to do direct address where this was her audience, and they were the only ones that knew and understood her, and that she could tell them all the things that were inside her, but then she'd say things that would reveal themselves later. So she'd say she hated the guinea pig, she didn't feel anything about guinea pigs, but later she says, I realised I forgot to give Hilary her Earl Grey. And so you start to realise that there's more to the story that's officially what she wants you to know. So at first you feel like you're completely with her, you know, that you really, really understand her deepest soul, and then you start to realise that this is a front and that she's telling you what she wants you to know. And so that transferred onto the camera. It took a long time. I remember you playing around with an iPhone and looking straight into the iPhone to see if that worked, and that definitely worked. But then the camera we started to work out that it would play tricks with her, so that the camera's relationship with the truth was independent. Obviously, you could see that she liked a guinea pig because she'd be stroking it or looking after it or whatever. But what the camera showed as the story went on became less within your control. Is that right?
Yeah, the relationship between the audience and Fleabag was the central relationship, you know, since the play, and the fact that she's manipulating so much. And in the play version, she had total control over what the audience is experiencing because it's just a monologue. And suddenly, when the camera's kind of makes it feel more live, and there are real people acting around her, and the world is more live, so we had to find a new way to make her feel like. So in my head, she was editing it, she was shooting it, she was showing you exactly the frame that she wanted you to see. She was cutting out when she thought someone was talking about some shit she didn't want you to talk about. She just cut out of it at the beginning. So there's a real sense of her authoring the piece, and then as the series continues, the camera hangs around a little bit longer. Like when she starts to get emotional, she doesn't want the camera there, but it stays on her, and then obviously ultimately at the end it kind of bullies her and doesn't look away.
Yeah, she spins around and it comes around to face.
That was really exciting, like making that leap.
And that was a lot of talking with Harry Bradbury, stylistically, the director.
That was, actually, Harry. I think that in particular, though, was the first thing when we realised it was possible. When I was thinking about how to get that control over an audience, how that journey, the audience can be involved in a personal journey with Fleabag. And actually, I think that was one of the first revelations. And when I saw that image of a camera going, we're not leaving you alone now, and Fleabag, who at the beginning was so like, come into my life, it'll be hilarious, and then at the very end going, no, stop looking at me, was the clearest thing. And so that was a very early decision. But then Harry completely, I mean, I just didn't know how to keep retelling the story of Boo dying without having to talk about it all the time or having to mention her, and I hate exposition so much. I just didn't want to have to keep bringing it back.
In the play, it would come up in anecdotes, wouldn't it?
Just like, her phone,
Boo did this and Boo said that.
Yes, exactly, and her phone message would come up. And then Harry, on like the first day, I think that we started talking to him, he said that he just keeps seeing Boo on the road with buses and bicycles going past her, and he was like, that, my dear, is a visual sentence. And my brain was like, poof. I was like, oh my God, there's so much you can do. And so that was a huge moment when I realised that then once we had that shot, we could just drop it in wherever, and the more unlikely the place was, the more fresh it felt and the more dangerous it felt. So that was, thank God for Harry for coming up with that.
Ironically, that was the last shot of the whole shoot that we got. So that was
almost didn't get it.
A dangerous bit of scheduling.
Everyone was like, just stand in the road. Poor Jenny. Yeah.
So getting on to the reception, obviously massively well received. How much of a surprise was that for you? What was the process?
Well, no, I think it's always a massive surprise when people respond to your work in that way. We had done the play, and the character had really caught people's imaginations, and people connected to her. So I did feel like there are some people out there, if we've done it right, there are some people out there, if we stay close enough to the heart of the play, that will still like it.
But it was all kinds of people as well. The play and the TV show, you had so many people come up to you of all ages and all genders and say that they're Fleabag.
The play.
Yes, it went on tour with Maddie, who's performing it here at the moment.
Maddie Rice.
And then we took it to South Korea.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. They have in their theatre district, they have something like 230 theatres, and they're all in they're like black boxes that are turned into theatres at night, and all the people.
Like Edinburgh.
It is, but that's what they're saying. And basically, their main audience are women in their mid-20s, because apparently all the guys. This is what we were told when we turned up. They're like, all the guys go and do karaoke, all the girls go and see a play, then they all meet up later and get smashed. And so they were like, they're going to love Fleabag. And so we took it there, but then there were subtitles in Korean.
We had a lot of problems with those because because the Phoebe's brilliant delivery was sort of being often about holding on to something and then cutting people with a shocking turnaround punchline at the end of each little bit, and we realised halfway through publishing the punchline sort of straight away, so everyone was just sort of reading that. So it took a bit of like, is that symbol? Does that mean that line? And yeah, so we worked it out by the final show.
But it was great because afterwards it was like the purest form of communication with an audience afterwards ever, because it was a Korean-speaking audience and I don't speak any Korean, believe it or not. And afterwards, the most moving thing about it was that girls were coming up and going, Fleabag, 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 pointing to themselves, and that's all we'd say, and I'd be like, Fleabag, Fleabag, they'd all be going, Fleabag, 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 and then we'd just all go out and just say that to each other all night. But that was, in some strange way, that was like it was really moving, that when someone just relates to your character.